Do that, Lee.
Okay, now we have moved on to the next section, and we are moving on to Helen Kramer. We have Frances up here, but that's her married name. Helen Kramer, birth to 26. That is before she is married. So we are going to pan over to that and take a look at that. Mag, leave it there. Mag, leave it there.
All those cute pictures I had when I was a baby, and she didn't even get those. That's the only time I was really cute.
You done with this? Okay, how old are you in this one, Mom?
Oh, I don't know. What would you say? Probably 3.
Yeah. We're starting at Mom at 3 years old. So she's the daughter, the last child of Anna and Harry, right?
Right.
So you guys had a pretty good life together.
Well, yeah.
Were things prosperous at this time, or was it during the Depression?
Well, we never really got into how our family originated. Mm-hmm. With Marion and.
Yes, we talked about that a little bit when Loretta died, and then you guys went to the farm. The kids went to the farm, and then he met Anna.
Well. Of course I wasn't born at that time, because my sister was 2 years old, and little sister was only 6 weeks old when her mother died.
Right.
Of the flu epidemic back in, what was it, I don't know what it was, 1918 or no, I guess it was before that. I don't know. I don't know exactly what the years were. But anyway, she died, and my father, who they thought was going to die, didn't even know that his wife, or Loretta, had died, because he was so sick, and they thought he was going to die, that when he finally did recover, and he said, well, where is Loretta? They had to tell him that his wife had died of the flu. So here he was, and he was trying to recover from a very, very severe illness. And he had a 2-year-old who was Marion, and a 6-week-old child that was Loretta, or little sister. So his mother and father took the baby out on the farm in Greenbrook, and to take care of her. And my sister Marion, who was a little over 2 years old, was taken down to the Marinchek side of the family, where, she had aunts and uncles and lots of people around, and my grandmother to take care of her. And that's how my grandmother got the name Other Mama, because Marion used to call her Other Mama, because she didn't have, her mother was dead, so this was her Other Mama. And
so through that,
my father would visit back and forth to see the kids, his own family and his in-law family. And he had known that family for a long time, so it was very close to him. And he eventually, he and my mom got together. And that's kind of a sad story, and yet it's a nice story in a way, because when my aunt was very ill before she actually died, she said to her sister, my mother, Anna, she said, I have a feeling that I'm not going to make it. She said, I think I'm going to die. Will you promise to take care of my babies and Harry, which was her husband? So I think my mother really took that to heart, and
she had a beau in Detroit, right? She had a man that she was really in love with.
Yeah, she did have a boyfriend in Detroit, and she really expected to be marrying him, but somehow she and my father got together and got married, and she did as she promised her sister and took care of her babies.
And had two of her own then.
And then it was so sad because when little sister was only 8 years old, she got sick and died too. So she was really totally heartbroken, as of course the whole family was. And she said to my father, or her husband, you know, if we could have another child, I think I could bear this better. I could get through this better. And my father said to her, do you really think that it's a good idea to have another child to love and lose? When you learn to love something and lose it, it's so hard. But anyway, she finally convinced them that she did want another child, and so I happened to be the result of that decision. But
and here you are.
This is a picture of me when I was about 3 or something, and this is another picture when I was 5 years old, which I am in this particular picture. We took a trip. The family took a trip to Florida, and.
Your dad was a developer, and he was thinking of developing down here, right?
Well, he had already come down and tried to develop in Fort Pierce, but the transportation was so bad in those days that you couldn't rely on shipments and so forth, and so he kind of gave the idea up. But when we came down that year, we visited a little Indian village, and everybody, of course, had to have their picture taken on a stuffed alligator.
Would that have been the Seminole Indians?
Oh, it probably was. I don't really remember that much about it. Mm-hmm. I remember going into the village though and seeing that they lived on platforms. Mm-hmm. They had like you had to go up the steps.
They were probably used to living in the swamp. And they had to have it up out of the water. And then this is around the same time period, it looks like.
This was another picture of us all together. My father, my mother, Marion, and I'm sort of standing right here in the front, and then Harry's in the back.
So you were about 5 in that one, you said?
Yeah, I was about 5, and I remember we came down and we visited St. Augustine at the time, and years later, when I came back as an adult, when John and I came down for a conference, I could remember that fort so well. It was amazing. It must have made a great impression on me. This is a picture of my brother and me and my little dog Poochie, and Harry has a goat back there, which you can't see too clearly, but anyway, her name was Annie, and he named the goat after my mother, and she was always teased about that. But anyway, he had made harnesses and everything else, and he had this little goat pulling him around in a wagon, and that's why I guess somebody took that picture. But anyway, here we are again. This is Harry and me, and the man in the middle is my Aunt Dottie's boyfriend, who I was at that time very attached to.
You look like you're about the same age, about 5.
Yeah, I was probably about 5, and we were down in Lavallette because that's where we used to go for the summer.
Oops. Here's Lavallette.
There's another picture of Lavallette. This is when they used to have a big pier out there, and a little summer house that you could sit in. And we would, you could also swim there, and it was like a bay, so the water was calm, and it wasn't, you didn't have to worry about waves or anything. And we used to go there all during the summer and crab off of this pier. In fact, when we used, I can't imagine doing it at this point in my life, but I remember we used to go there, and the crabs would be hanging off of these posts, these piers. There were so many of them, and we would take a fish head and a string and throw it over the edge, and then we had a big net that we would scoop up the crabs.
Now this happens to be your mother and you and Harry on that postcard, right?
Oh yeah, it so happened that, yeah, this was a postcard that you could buy in the store, but it so happened that they took a picture, and we were, Mom and Harry and I were on it. There was another one around here someplace too that we just happened to be taken. I guess we spent a lot of time on that pier. This is my mom and my dad and Harry and me, I don't know, out in the front of the yard or something.
And is that Poochie?
I can't see from here whether that's Poochie or not. No, that was Specky. That was another little English setter, a little red and white.
Things up here. Oh, God.
Somebody must have bought me this.
I can't get these on here.
Somebody must have bought me this this costume, because I'm all dressed up and acting like a Western cowgirl.
Unfortunately, I'm having trouble getting them on this thing so they don't fall behind the back.
Yeah.
Here.
This is a picture of me, you know, again. We were down in Lavallette on a sailboat in the bay. And this is in the house that I grew up in. It's just up the way. The kids our kids didn't really know this house because it was up the street from the one that Mom lived in.
Who's that?
That's my father's working in the garden. He was always working in the garden, and we had a fence along the side of the property, and I'm walking along the top of the fence. Those were the days when I had good balance. This is a picture of a friend of mine that lived in just one house over from us. We were neighbors, and I was most of my life up until the time I finished high school and went off to college. I spent as much time in her house as I ever did at home. Her name was Dorothy Beale, and the Beale family were just wonderful to me. Mr. Beale loved music, and we had our own little orchestra. Dorothy played the cello. Her sister played the violin. Her other sister played the piano, and Mr. Beale played almost any instrument at all. He could play the viola, or he could play any.
What did you play?
I played the violin.
How old were you when you started playing the violin?
Oh, I don't know. I guess I was, I was pretty young. My sister played the violin, and I thought that I wanted to be like her, I guess. So I started playing the violin. That's a picture of probably our favorite dog, and he was a rescue dog, actually. He was down in the pound, and he was an English setter, so he loved to run. And apparently his ex-owners gave up on him because he ran away from home all the time. And we went down to the pound. They had a dog pound not far from us, and found him and brought him home.
What was his name?
His name was Dookie, because he was an English setter. We had him until he died. He finally had a stroke and died. Oh, this is a picture of my sister and my brother and me when I was still in school. We were all pretty, my sister was probably working at that time. My brother was in high school and I probably was in grammar school. Oh, this is a picture of all the counselors at a camp that I spent 3 years at when I was in high school.
Right.
I don't know. You probably
there.
can't
and
see
that white blouse right there.
Oh, okay. But that's how many counselors we had in this camp.
Where was the camp?
It was in Speculator, New York, and on a great big lake up there. And it was a religious camp, and everybody all the counselors had to play an instrument. In order to be a counselor, that was one of the requirements.
She's next to the guy in the...
She's got a white shirt on right there, next to the accordion guy.
Yeah, okay, that's what I thought.
And this is a picture of all the counselors, but it was a huge camp, and it was a family camp. So some of the people there worked in they didn't cook, but they were waiters and...
Did Dorothy go to that?
Dorothy went, yeah, Dorothy went, and Lois went. Lois was her sister. And Mr. and Mrs. Beale went because it was a family camp. We went one year as guests, and Dorothy and I shared a little tent because they had tents you could live in, or they had cabins, or they had like a little kind of a motel kind of arrangement.
Is it kind of like that Dirty Dancing movie where they would go up into the mountains, get out of the hot weather? Was that the kind of?
Well, yeah, it was a.
And they'd have dancing lessons and.
Well, no, because this was a religious camp, so we didn't have any dancing or any of that kind of stuff. But we were more centered with music and with sports and that sort of thing. They had tennis courts. They had a huge beach on this lake, and a lot of the tents were right on the beach. And then, they could rent canoes. Mm-hmm. So we spent a lot of time doing that sort of thing. Yeah, but this is just a picture of me when I graduated from high school, I think.
And there's a car in the background. Is that your family car and your house in the back? Right?
I can't. Yeah, it was my house, but I think I was actually standing in the. I can't remember. I think I was standing in my aunt's house that was next to ours, and looking over at our house.
Whose house was that?
That was Aunt Lena. Aunt Lena. Can you turn? This is a picture of. This is a picture of some of the buildings in Milwaukee that in the college that I went to. We don't have really a really good picture of it, but it was girls' school in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and I went out there because it was a very good school for occupational therapy, and that's what I decided I was going to study. And it was a girls' school. It was not a very big school, but everybody knew everybody, and it was a great experience to. This was a picture. This was a picture of them with a friend of mine. This is me, and this is a friend of mine, Sid Stoker. That was. We were in a big mud fight because that was part of our initiation into the college regime. But it was kind of an experience that I never had before, and we just threw mud at one another, and but anyway, what's the next picture, Lee? This is a picture of me, and we had a blackface program. Actually, it was really a good program, but it so happened that the day after we had the program, and we were scheduled to go down and do it again for some men's club. It so happened that we had a speaker come to our sociology class, and he was highly offended at the fact that we would do a blackface program. You know, it was like a minstrel, and in those days, I don't know, I guess it was sort of the beginning of people really recognizing
What
the
year
fact
would that have
that
been, like in the 40s?
well, no, that would have been in yeah, it would have been the 40s. It probably was like maybe 48, maybe 49 or 50.
So we didn't get into this, but your dad died when you were 16, right? Before
Yes.
you went away to college.
Yeah, my father died. That's right. Yeah.
And then you
I went
pretty much
no.
a year later went out to college, and your mom encouraged you to do that just because she didn't want to keep you, but she was kind of left alone then at that point.
Well, she was. Well, my sister actually lived in the same town, thank God. And Harry was still in. He had come back from the war, and so he went to Cornell to go to. So he wasn't around, and my father had died when I was 16. But so I wasn't really finished with high school. My mother wanted to move out of that big house that we had, and she moved down to. Not just down the street, but to a house that she liked better, because it was it was a house that my father had built for her when they got married. So
And that's the one that was next to Aunt Lena's house.
and that was the one that was next to Aunt Lena's house. But yeah, I never thought about it really when I was a kid, how selfless my mother was, because she never said to me, you know, I'm alone, I'm lonesome, I don't want you to go away to school, I want you to go to some place close. But she just let me go wherever I wanted to go, and I, you know, I didn't recognize at the time what a wonderful person she was, and how she just, she never made demands
well, in those days,
on
too,
us.
you packed your trunk and you didn't come home until
No,
the end of
that's
the year.
right. You know, actually, she flew me home for Christmas because, and in those days, that was quite a deal to fly. That was back in the late 40s, when and that was when flying was really a fun kind of thing. It was
high class.
Yeah.
So this is the last one from your college.
Oh, that was when I was in college, and I just
you
I
were a big
happened
swimmer.
I like to swim, so I happened to win the
What did
contest.
you, was it
I don't know, it was a race or something. It was
freestyle, but
yeah, I think it was freestyle. Yeah.
so this is a picture.
Oh, while I was in college, one summer when I was home, I got a job in a what do you call it? Not lunch wagon. You know.
Cafeteria?
No, in a restaurant. Anyway, I got a job in a restaurant, and I was really making pretty good tips. So Mom and I decided that I would take some of the money that I'd saved from my job, and we'd go down to Cuba first, and then to Guatemala on a cruise out of New York City. So that's what we did, and that's what this picture is. I was on the boat going, and here's one of the fellows that worked on the boat, and here's a gal that I got to be friendly with. This is me, and we were. That was really a great trip, and it was the only trip Mom really ever took. You know, she never.
Well, I thought you went out west.
Oh, when that's right. When we were after this was.
Before, like when you were in high school still?
No. That was the year that Harry graduated from Cornell. We got they drove out and they picked me up at college, and we went out to the West Coast and then all the way back. and we were gone for like, I don't know, over a month.
And you went to the national parks?
We went to the national parks. We went to, you know, what is
Grand Canyon.
Well, you know, the one where they have all the
Mount
presidents.
Rushmore.
Yeah, Mount Rushmore. We went to Yellowstone Park, and those were in those days. You could just go there and ask for a room, and you could get one. It wasn't like you had to plan 3 years ahead, you know, and they were pretty rustic though. Because when we went to the Yellowstone Park, they said, "Oh, sure, we have a cabin." And we went to the cabin, and they had a pile of wood and an old wood stove, wood burning stove to keep you warm, because it got cold out there. This was early in the spring, and it was cold, and the only thing they had to divide a certain area of the cabin from the rest was a little curtain that you pulled. You know, was a wire strung from one side of the room to the other, and you just pull the curtain so you'd have some privacy. That was it. And then, of course, you had to go outside to the outhouse, and there were wild animals around in those days out there.
So did you go to California?
Well, oh yeah. Then after that, we went. That was Yellowstone Park, and then we went through. I don't know. We went through a whole mess. And one of them was Yosemite, and I can remember that road that we took. There was 12 miles of road in those days that were that was only one way. So if you bumped into somebody coming in the opposite direction, one of you had to back up to wherever you could pull off the road, because certain areas along the way there would be places where you could pull over and get out of the other guy's way, and the road up that it was the east side of the Yosemite that we went to get into Yosemite, and there were no fences along. There was this long, twisty road that went up the side of the mountain, and Mom was all upset because, you know, in order for him to make any progress, he had to step on the gas a little bit to get through these places, you know. And then my mother would be she'd, "Harry, slow down, you know.
It was very scary.
It was kind of scary, yeah.
I was thinking is it was probably a much more arduous trip in those days because you didn't have the interstates. Interstates weren't put in.
Oh no, they didn't have.
So the roads you were taking, it was almost like
66 set up.
I don't.
Oh well, 66. That was across. That was
from Chicago to LA.
Yeah, that was across sort of the middle of the country.
You didn't go that way. You went across the north.
No, we went across the northern place. We went through the Badlands.
Interstates were built in like the 50s or.
Yeah, because that was a project that Eisenhower kind of pushed.
Right. So
after he got in,
the war.
That was after the war, and he became president. And
when you were doing those trips, that was pretty. They were a lot of.
Yeah, and there was no air conditioning in cars in those days either. So
this is post graduation from college, I think, that you're at the.
Oh yeah, no, this is the group that went into the service.
Oh.
After we graduated from college, there was a program that you could go into the Army and get your internship, which amounted to about 10 months.
Is Mrs. Hymas in there?
Yeah, I think she was.
Because I was talking. No,
wait a minute. I don't know.
She's in the back row on the left.
Here, look at it. Let's see. This is Mom.
No, she's not in here. This was a group that was the group that stayed on after our basic training. We stayed in Fort Sam. This was the group
Wait, this is.
Oh, that was just a picture that they, I don't know.
Now,
had taken.
you had an exit from there. You had to go back into occupational therapy and get your internship back in Chicago, right? Because
but look at this is the group that left college, and that whole group went into. We should have straightened that out, but that was the group that left college and went down there. As students.
Hey, just hold it.
I'm just gonna hold it then.
Yeah. And no, that's not the group.
No, that's what I thought. This is
This is a group. This was when we were working in Chicago.
Right. So
one day.
I wanted you to mention that after you got out, you got discharged from the army because of your narcolepsy.
Yeah, I know, but there was another picture in here somewhere of all the people, and they had the picture of Sue Heinrichs.
Okay, that's not in
that. Yeah, but it was a picture that was of all the Milwaukee Downer students that went into the service.
Matter, Mom. Just
What's the
talk about
story of
this
this one?
This was when we got out of work one day, and we were walking down the street, and some photographer just put our picture in the paper, and I guess it was a nice spring day, and we were walking down the street after
holding
work.
your coats.
Yeah,
It was so warm, I guess.
Yep.
This is the last one.
This is I don't know where we were, but this was one of the last pictures we took with all together. Marion, Mom, Harry, and me. I can't remember where we were. Maybe we were over in Aunt Pat's that day. For Christmas.
It looks like in your kitchen, doesn't it? With the stairs outside, Nana's kitchen? But maybe not.
Oh, maybe. Maybe it was in Nana's house. Anyway, we were all together.
And were you just out of college there? Or?
I'm sure I wasn't married at that point. No.
Okay.
Are we concluding?
Yes.